Well, tonight we are doing council's job for them, so let's hope they're listening. We're putting forward the evidence that lighting up Port Macquarie's fantastic skate park absolutely will work, despite what council might tell you. We'll be speaking to the people who know for sure, workers from Sydney and the Gold Coast who can categorically state that lights have been successful at the skating parks that they oversee. Now, our council might not want you to know that lights are now an integral part of other skateboard parks across the country, but tonight we'll present the proof that council resistance to skate park lights is nothing short of a disgrace. But before we go to Sydney and the Gold Coast, Councillor Lisa Interman is in the studio. Lisa, I've got to say that for many young people in the region, this is a real test case. They are now looking to the councillors. They want to know who's in there for an ego trip and who's in there to represent us and to actually move and shake and get things happening. Do you agree with that?
It's a great topic to start with, Tim. I congratulate you for following up on this. Is it a test case? Lights at the skate park. If I was a young person, I'd love it.
Exactly. And look, and I'm a lay person just like the young people that are campaigning for this, and I am looking to council and new councillors to see what they're going to do, because this is what it's all about. You're there to represent us, so it'll be interesting to see. I think it's also very telling, Lisa, that the Facebook campaign to get these lights has now officially had more likes than the council's Facebook page. What do you think of that?
That's fantastic.
It's fantastic, isn't
it? Yes, absolutely fantastic. My drive behind being a councillor is getting involved in community decision making. I thoroughly believe in self-determination for local communities, and I applaud anybody who gets behind an issue and really drives it. And how fantastic. How long's the page been going?
A couple of months, I believe, and
yes.
It's got a lot of likes and a lot of activity too, not just
yes.
likes, a lot of conversation going on there. Have a listen to this, Lisa. Derek Vensky, he's a youth worker attached to a skate park on the Gold Coast. Now, he says we here in Port Macquarie, we're missing a golden opportunity if we do not install the lights. Now, I spoke to Derek earlier. I have Derek Vensky on the line. He's the coordinator of the Gold Coast North Youth Centre. G'day, Derek.
Good day, Tim. How are you doing?
I'm really well, thank you. Thanks for coming on our show tonight. You believe that lights can be very effective, a good thing to have at skateboard parks?
Yes, Tim. Look, I think it's good. There's a lot of skaters who work during the day, so when they knock off of a day, they like to go down to the skate park and have a skate, and that does create a good positive social impact onto the area, and it gives them an outlet.
What's the name of the skateboard park that you have the most to do with up there in Queensland?
We're attached to the Runaway Bay skate park on the Gold Coast, yes.
Very good. Now, I understand there are some challenges that you have managed to overcome, and that Port Macquarie may be able to take some lessons from that. Tell us about the challenges that were posed by the installation of lights at the skateboard park.
Look, I think the biggest problem we had was that you do have some of the undesirable young folk, if you can use that term, that would bring alcohol onto the premises. We just, in the beginning, monitored it very carefully. We had a good working relationship with the local police, and the minute they did, we'd ask them to leave. If they didn't, we would then immediately phone the police, who would be there within a few minutes, and move them on their way.
So when I've had council on our show previously, they've said lights will attract anti-social behaviour. Therefore, lights should not be installed. Do you think that's a good enough reason to not have the lights?
No, I don't think so. Again, it's the minority, and very often we make decisions based on the minority, and the majority end up losing out. If young people don't have a place to skate, they end up going into shopping malls and these places to skate because it's lit up. So I don't think that's a reason. I think you've got to, face the challenge, and it doesn't take long. They get the message very quickly that undesirable behaviour will not be tolerated, and they just don't come eventually.
Derek, what is your message to our local council here in Port Macquarie when it comes to the subject of lighting up a skateboard park?
I think give it a go, control it, let the police in the beginning have regular stopovers, even if you can have security there for a while, or even a youth worker stationed there for a while to set the motion and make sure that it's all working correctly.
Derek, thanks for your time.
You're more than welcome, Tim.
So, Lisa, that's Derek Vensky. He's a really wise man. It was a privilege, actually, to talk to him as off-air as well. And off-air, he did tell me that he agreed with my belief. This is something I've been going on about for a couple of weeks now, that these lights are actually much more than just lights. They are a symbol of Port Macquarie's level of respect, a level of respect for the region's youth culture, really. What do you think about that? I
think it's a really valid point, a very strong one, and it needs to be made more and more often. A comment from him really resonated with me, which is, let's not be driven by this fear of what the minority might do, because then so many people miss out. I thoroughly believe that people look after public assets, look after common goods, if you give them the opportunity to get that sense of respect.
I'll tell you something, Lisa, that the proof is in the pudding already on that statement. That if you look at the skateboard park the way it is now, the self-regulation with the young people down there is amazing. They take great pride in that. And any young person who's not quite on the straight and narrow gets pulled up by their peers, not a grown-up, by their peers.
Fantastic. Exactly as it should be. I don't like to say that as an instruction, but how it's best.
Absolutely.
Then everybody can have a great time, not only doing what it is that they love, but that great companionship that comes.
Lisa, do you think there is a conspiracy within council to withhold light from that whole breakwall area because maybe they want to deter people from being at the area at all? They don't want people strolling along there at night. For me, I think the lack of light down there is actually very deliberate. What do you think?
It certainly hasn't come up. Realise this is a very new council. Not everything has been addressed yet. The issue of lights on the breakwall and down at Town Beach hasn't come up. Mm-hmm. Tim, I undertake that I'll find out. I'll ask the question and let's see what the opinion of the organisation is regarding lights.
Yeah.
I'm happy to advocate to the people who would like to get the lights down there to make the best case to council.
Fantastic. Christine Bannister, she's the Crime Prevention Officer at Hastings Council. She was on the show a few weeks ago. Now, I found her very resistant to the idea of lighting up the park, and as a crime prevention officer, I suppose that makes sense. Here's a part of that conversation that we had. Can I just drive right down into the heart of this, Christine? You're a crime prevention officer.
That's right.
You're seen as successful in your job when the crime stats improve. And let's be real, it's much easier for you and for council if teenagers are neatly tucked up in bed by 8:30 p.m, isn't it?
No. That's not necessarily so. I don't attribute crime to teenagers. I certainly look at antisocial behaviour, and I certainly wouldn't be attributing that to teenagers, nor would I be attributing that to young skaters. I've been a very strong advocate of the skate community, and as the skate community would vouch for. And I'll just reiterate that. We're not saying no, but we're not saying yes at the moment to lighting either.
However, even though we're not saying no, I'm certainly hearing resistance from you, and you said at the beginning there wasn't resistance, but everything you've said so far points to lights are a bad thing.
Tim, I guess I'm hearing from you a very biased opinion that it should be lit.
Absolutely, and I'm quite happy, Christine, to say, yeah, I have a biased opinion. There should be lights down there. Young people deserve a safe place to go at night. The problem is, Christine, that there never seems to be an alternative. Council don't want teenagers, for example, congregating in that area outside the glass house. I mean, you actively try to shoo them away from there. You won't look at these lights. I mean, isn't it a great idea?
Yeah, I find that.
I'll give you a chance to respond in a second. Yeah. Isn't it a great idea to give teens a well-lit, safe, designated place somewhere in Port Macquarie, if not the skateboard park, somewhere where they can gather at night? Don't we need a safe place here in Port Macquarie?
Of a night?
Absolutely.
But not necessarily at the skate park, and I don't think the skate park meets all of those needs. I think that you're saying that we don't have, the council are wanting to tuck people into bed. I don't think not putting lights in means that council wants to tuck people in bed.
Well, where's the alternative then?
Yeah, I think you're polarising the issue a little bit, Tim.
Well, where's the alternative?
I don't know. I'm not sure about what sort of age group of people you're talking about.
Teenagers.
And I don't see the skate park as being the social nighttime hangout area for young people that we should be saying, right, this is where we want to attract young people to. And that's Christine Bannister. She's the Crime Prevention Officer at Hastings Council. If you'd like to give us a call tonight, we'd love to hear from you. Our telephone number is 6585
3456. We're about to talk to someone from Skateboarding Australia, but first, Lisa, we could have a vibrant, youthful promenade down there on the breakwall in school holidays and on the weekends, but we don't. And to me, in my books, that's a missed opportunity. I mean, what's the role of a counsellor in areas like this? I like to think that your personal opinion of any counsellor has little consequence and that you have to go with the community consensus. That's what I like to think your role is. But sometimes it feels like counsellors have absolutely no power because they're put in their place by the bureaucrats that actually work in that council building down there. What's your take on that?
Complex question you've got there, Tim. The council as an organisation, huge $150 million budget turnover each year, 450 staff, monstrous organisation that does a huge number of tasks very well for this community and a lot that can be criticised. The role of the councillor. Let's assume that those who would like the lights campaign to council to try to get the lights. I would suggest to them that there's a couple of things that they can do. Number one, bring the issue and their enthusiasm for the issue to the councillors, and we'll talk about how they can contact the councillors in a second. Mm-hmm. But the other thing is to remember and make sure that the facts are addressed. So you've really helped them along here, Tim, by contacting an area where there are already lights. So it's no big boogeyman. It's already been done somewhere else. The world hasn't stopped turning because of it. I heard that there were no great dramas in terms of safety because it was all done in a very precautionary fashion to get it established properly. Mm. So we've got that example there. It's not like as if Port Macquarie will be the first. So those two things. First, enthusiasm, interest in the event, in the issue, but secondly, be prepared to deal with the data.
Yeah, the facts, which is what we're doing tonight, presenting that evidence rather than just my opinion like I've done for the past couple of weeks. Now, I spoke to an officer with Skateboarding Australia earlier. Take a listen to this. Simon Wills is the New South Wales Development Manager with Skateboarding Australia. He's on the line to talk about the lights. G'day, Simon.
Hello, how you going?
I'm well, thanks, mate. Look, I want to cut right to the chase here. Up here in Port Macquarie, there is a debate about whether or not lights will cause more problems than they're worth at the skateboard park. What do you think? Will lights give rise to antisocial behaviour?
I don't think so, in my opinion. Definitely not. I think the park users in general use the facilities correctly, and I dare say there's 5,000 park users that use the park in the correct manner in the evening to, the one that doesn't have the respect for the community.
The Crime Prevention Officer here at Port Macquarie Hastings Council told me recently that they don't want to put lights at the skateboard park because that would attract young people there, and they do not believe the skateboard park is the right place for young people to congregate at night. How do you respond to that?
Well, I think, to have a lit-up skateboard facility where, the authority know where the youth are. I think if it's not the skateboard park, they're hanging out in the local schools, they're hanging out at the bush. Mm-hmm. So I definitely think that, to sort of know where the kids are, know that they're doing something active and healthy is definitely not a negative thing.
Is there an OH&S issue here too? From what I understand, down at Bondi and up at Nerang and in some other places in Sydney, they have the lights at these skateboard parks as a safety measure because at night skateboard parks can be dangerous. Is it an OH&S issue?
Yeah, most definitely. In my opinion, it most definitely is. Skate parks aren't fenced off or anything like that. So there's no real deterrent for people to enter the facility, whether, if it's not lit up. Kids are going to be trying to skate the facility regardless. I definitely think it does open a big can of worms for OH&S issues, most definitely.
Simon, I know you're a big supporter of the skating community and young people working together with council to, get positive outcomes happening, and where that's possible, I completely agree. What is your message to Port Macquarie Hastings Council, though, when it comes to these lights? Are they missing an opportunity here?
I definitely feel that they are. Like I say, first and foremost, there needs to be a collaboration between the skateboarding community and the councils. Mm-hmm. in saying that, in my experience, like I say, I mean, there would be 5,000, park users using the facility the way that it's meant to be used, which opens up for, families who work during the day being able to take their children down, for a quick session in the evening. It just opens up the park for everyone to enjoy and everyone to use. So I definitely think it's a missed opportunity not to have lights at such an amazing skateboard facility.
And just really quickly, Simon, one thing that's important for us to get on record up here is that when we talk about lights of a skateboard park, we're not just talking about having it lit up at 24 hours a day. Tell us how the lights are used effectively at other skateboard parks, because I understand they're on a timer.
Yeah, that's correct. So no, the lights don't stay on 24/7. In my area, in Western Sydney, we have a few parks that have lights that generally stay until 11 o'clock, and then the lights are out, which basically, realistically, I probably wouldn't support people sort of, being down at the skateboard facility at 3 in the morning, but I definitely feel that it should be opened up to people that do want to use it within them reasonable hours.
And that'd also be scope, wouldn't there, Simon, for having the lights only used on maybe a Friday, a Saturday night, possibly on school holidays?
That's exactly right. I mean, as I say, to sort of have the understanding that the park will only be used by, people sort of after school, and, the skateboarding community is very vast. There's a lot of people that obviously don't fall into that time frame of being able to use that park within them hours. And yeah, as I say, I think it's a great thing that to have lights at a park. So, I mean, all members of the community can utilise the facility that everyone's worked so hard to get.
Simon, thanks for your time.
You're more than welcome, mate. Thank you for having me on.
Thank you. So there you have it. People who actually work alongside floodlit skateboard parks have busted that myth, perpetuated by council, mind you, that lights will have a negative impact on Port Macquarie. Lisa, you've had many crusades in your time, community crusades. Do you think that people power can actually win out in this case?
Absolutely. As I said, by presenting those two sides of it, and you can't forget either of them. And let's assume that we're successful. And the lights are turned on, the responsibility then comes to those who are using it to ensure that there isn't antisocial behaviour, bullying, alcoholism, etc.
And I know that community down there, they will take ownership of it at night. They will not let that happen. They will not let it happen. They're a good group of people that are using that skateboard park.
And Tim, let me say that if we've got a positive in our future, for all of us, it is this notion, I believe, that young people learn early as possible that this is their community and that they are partly responsible for what happens in that community.
Absolutely. That's a good sentiment to leave it on. Now, Lisa, I believe that some of your advice is for young people, even though they might never have done this before, to send an email to council. And there's a way of doing that. Tell us how.
There is an email address. So the really easy way to contact councillors now is to send to the following address: councillors, plural, so with an S on the end, COUNCILLORS at PMHC, stands for Port Macquarie Hastings Council, at nsw.gov.au.
Perfect. And I really encourage young people to actually use that email address. If there's one thing young people know how to do, it's send an email, isn't it? Send the most important email of your young political life, young people listening. Lisa, thanks for coming in tonight and sort of clearing up how councillors can help in a matter just like this.
Thanks, Tim, for inviting me. I'm happy to come back on other issues in the future. I'm so passionate about this whole notion of participatory democracy, people getting involved in their community. That's what it's all about, and we can make it work. Thanks,
That is
Tim.
what it's all about. Thanks, Lisa, again. You're listening to Time to Talk. Give us a call tonight on 6585 3456.